going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, day 14 here on the 31 Days of Horror Volume 5, and we're going to take it back to the 90s, specifically 1990 Trey, with a very, very 90s film, and it is called Little Devils, The Rebirth. Yes, this is a Canadian film released by Shivers Entertainment, and I'm not 100% sure what happened to Shivers. I did get to know the owner quite a little bit. They released a couple films, and then they seem to have disappeared, so I'm not sure if they have debunked or what, but they were a company that was specifically about releasing low-budget Canadian films and stuff. This one right here is actually directed by George Pavlo, who is most famous for directing Rawhead Rex. I'm sure you guys have heard of that movie. This was his final feature that he ever did. He actually only ever directed like 4 movies in a few years span, so his career wasn't very long in the behind the directorial part of it. But yeah, this was his last and final feature here. Little Devils, The Rebirth. What a finale. But getting into the synopsis of this one. This one basically follows a main character, Ed Reed, played by Mark Price, who actually starred in Trick or Treat, the 80s Trick or Treat, who is kind of in a slump in his life. He's got a stagnant moment in time because he's writing smut for like this porno mag. Yes, he's a writer and he's writing porno for this magazine. And he's actually kind of famous, like people know who he is and stuff, and people ask for his autographs and stuff, but he's not really too fond of that because he's kind of embarrassed of what he's doing. He lives this kind of strange life. He lives in kind of a ratty apartment. He's got this really strange landlord that's always hitting on him and shit. It's very bizarre. But he has his eye set on this girl named Lynn. She's a dancer at the strip club, played by Nancy Valen, who actually starred on Baywatch. She did a season of Baywatch, and I couldn't figure out where I knew her from. I guess I could have just looked on the back, but it was, of course, Baywatch, who's very, very beautiful in this movie. She's got that typical, early 90s look, the long, dark hair, kind of crimped, just sexy body, really, really good looking. But he's got his eyes out for her, and they become kind of a thing and stuff. They've got this doctor friend who's also a character in the film. But the thing is, he's got this neighbor upstairs who's like a mad scientist, and he doesn't know anything about him. There's actually a point in the film where these kind of thug gangsters are, they tackle him at one point in the film. They're going to cut off his fingers because he apparently owes them money, and he saves them. And that's really how we kind of get introduced to him. But he doesn't know what he's doing upstairs. In the beginning of the film, this mad scientist actually finds this like magic mud inside this crypt or this tomb or whatever you want to do. He brings it back to his apartment where the mud actually starts to possess him and forces him to make or scalp out these little creatures out of this mud. They get animated and they come to life. And, they start wreaking havoc on everybody. So now they've got to all team up together to basically destroy these little demon devil things before they get killed. So that's the premise of the film. Now my thoughts on this one. Wow, what a super, super 90s film this is. It's kind of an interesting structure because it runs about 100 minutes right there, and right away that's a little bit too long for a creature feature. That's pretty much in the vein of like a Ghoulies / Gremlins, Munchies. The Little Devils really do look like they come from The Gate, though, another Canadian film actually. They kind of are very reminiscent to The Gate, but very much in that limelight of little creature type features and stuff. And I will say this movie has a very Full Moon feel, because Full Moon at this time in the early 90s wasn't doing as many creature features, but they started to do like little creature features and stuff, and it became kind of like this. But yeah, no, the structure of the film is very strange because, like I said, it runs 100 minutes. And the first hour of the movie is basically just a lot of like drama kind of buildup. It's following Ed, and it's really getting a whole pile of information about him and his relationship with Lynn, and them getting together, and the doctor's in there and stuff. And it's like an hour of like drama, a little mixing with a little bit of comedy and stuff. Now, generally, I'd be like, man, it was just atrocious to watch. It was absolutely terrible. The funny thing is that even though it wasn't really much horror going on in the first hour of this movie, they really did pad the time way too much. It was actually oddly entertaining for the first hour because these characters are really likable. Mark's a super likable guy, even know what he does, but he doesn't really embrace it, so he's really likable. Lynn's very, very likable and beautiful. The doctor's kind of charming and funny. It has this kind of weird charm to the first hour. Some people won't appreciate it, but I digress a little bit. They probably could have cut this thing right in half and made this movie a lot shorter, would have been better. But once the demons get developed and introduced into the film, it's when it really does pick up. The last like 40 plus minutes of this movie actually are pretty damn entertaining. I will say that the animatronics used on the the little creatures are fantastic. They actually look really damn cool. They move around quite well. It's shot pretty well for them. They show them walking right around and shit. I was very surprised by that, considering it's such a low budget type film. And that's really what you want to see. You can always tell with the really low budget creature features when, they have it filmed kind of POV and stuff. But no, they took the effort to actually build these things and move them around like little creatures and stuff. Now, the way that they kill these things was fucking hilarious, man. I actually started laughing. I was like, what? That's the way they're going to kill these things? But it worked. It was kind of cheesy. In hindsight, thinking back on this, it actually kind of plays itself out like a Goosebumps episode. It's like, it's for kids, but with adults. It's very strange. Like, it's not hardcore at all. Even the scenes in the strip club with the dancers and stuff, there's no tits. So it's kind of odd. I mean, this movie theoretically shouldn't even be rated R. I mean, but it's actually pretty fun. I mean, the last 40 minutes kind of make you forget the first hour of non-horror stuff that you're watching. But, it's a film that I would recommend to people that like these kind of creature features, these small creature features, which are kind of rare. There's not a whole whackload of these. There's lots of creature features out there with big monsters and creatures, but not small ones. A little bit more now today and stuff, but back in the day they didn't make a lot of these because they were harder to do. Anything smaller to do with practical effects just cost a lot more. It was a lot harder to do, so that's why you saw bigger things. But Little Devil's the Birth. It's kind of funny, the artwork here. This girl is not in the movie. So that's a very 80s thing to do right there. But yeah, I enjoyed this, man. The dialogue at times just had me I was just entertained. Maybe it was the time I watched it. Like I said, though, the first hour is a little bit different than the second half of the movie. And the payoff is pretty good. It is definitely worth the watch and stuff. I was interested in how this guy got possessed by mud and these devil demons. There's not a lot of intel to that, though. Doesn't matter. It's a creature feature movie, but lo and behold, I recommend it. I loosely recommend it. I give it 6.5 out of 10 if you want to check it out. Now, like I said, for the DVD, I don't know if you can even pick this up anymore. I'm gonna have to look into that with Shivers because they were a company out of southern BC where I live, and I'm not sure what's going on. So these things might be really hard or rare to find. I know the VHSs, they only pressed up 25 of this movie and the other film that they released too, and I actually have one of each, which is kind of rare. But yeah, man, creature feature or little monster films. I like them. Cool. So that's gonna do it here for day 14. Check you guys tomorrow. I guess day 15 is pretty much the midpoint, so we're getting there, man. I always feel like October goes insanely way too fast when I'm doing this 31 Days of Horror, which has been the last 5 years, because you find yourself doing a lot of this, but it's okay. I'm enjoying it. Hope you guys are too. Let me know your thoughts if you've actually seen this movie before. Because, yeah, I've never really heard anyone talk about this ever before, so pretty obscure. But, yeah, check you guys tomorrow, and as usual,